Hi there, it's Nicole with Mama Elephant, and today I've got a card showcasing the new Fresh Fruits stamp set, and I have colored all of these adorable images with colored pencils. I have just really kind of fallen back in love with my colored pencils again. I've used them quite a bit here in the last few weeks, and I think they are the perfect choice for coloring in these pencils. They kind of have that soft look that I was going for with these images. And when I first started out this whole process trying to decide what I wanted to do for this card, I kind of was thinking, I was going to do a couple of the apple images, do a cute teacher card, because there is definitely there's several fun greetings. One says thanks teacher, and that's the one I was kind of gravitating towards. And as I was coloring in these images, I couldn't stop with just the apple images. And so what I ended up doing was stamping all of the fruit images from the Fresh Fruits stamp set and coloring them all in with colored pencils. This is kind of how I've been liking to use my colored pencils lately, is where I'm laying down, several colors here where I've got some green and a couple shades of red. And then I am taking the Prismacolor colorless blender and blending these colors together. It's a really quick and easy way to blend the colors and give that nice smooth finish without having to use Gamsol or stump pencils. I'm a huge fan of Gamsol and stump pencils, but this is just another way to get really fabulous results with your colored pencils. I even went back in and added more color where I needed to and things like that. One little tip that I found while I was working: if you blend in little circles rather than kind of straight across like I did on that apple, I think you're going to like your results better. So here, when I color in the orange, the lemon, the pear, I'm going to be coloring in circles. This is a great tip really for any kind of color medium you use, whether it be Copics. A lot of times you're going to get much nicer results when you color in those small circles. For whatever reason, it just really does kind of help the whole look of the image. What I love about the apple is that not only is there a full apple image here, but there's also the half apple image, which gives you a really fun opportunity to color in the inside of the apple. I used kind of a beigeish color. I believe it's called ginger root. And then I also used Eggshell. I can't remember which one is which one was darker. I might have to go grab the pencils, but I used a combination of the two for that inside of my apple, and I really had to work to kind of get the color the way I wanted. I thought I was going to want it much lighter than what it ended up, but I really like it with that little bit more of a dark look to it. I think it's much more natural. Anyway, I love how these turned out, and once I got these colored, I just didn't want to stop. So I stamped the orange, the pear, several strawberries, and the lemon. The strawberries are nice and little, and I thought they would be great little fillers, which they ended up being along that border of my card. I'm going to go ahead and color in the orange next. If I didn't mention before, all of my colors are shown across the bottom of the screen. I have listed both the Prismacolor number and the actual name or color name. A lot of my viewers have wanted to know, what exact colored pencils that I am using. And I used to just list the numbers, and that's really kind of hard to find. So I'm listing both depending on how maybe you search for your colored pencils. That way, just for reference, if you ever want to know exactly which ones I've used, here they are across the bottom of the screen. So here's that orange where I'm coloring in the little circles, and I think you can tell that it's a little bit nicer blended. I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more dark, just do a little circles around the edge, blend that all out. Then there are some great accent stamps in this particular stamp set. So I'm going to stamp those little dots there along one edge, really add some nice detail. I'm going to move on to the strawberries next. Much like the apple, I am using a little bit of green and then blending in my reds, or I guess maybe blending the green into the reds might be a better way to put it. But that way, it just gives a little bit more of a realistic look. A lot of times the tops of the strawberries or the tip of the strawberries might be a little bit green when you get them. And I just like that way of a little bit more of a natural type of look. I did pick a darker green color for the stem on my strawberries, and just like with the orange, there's some great accents so you can stamp the seeds. I chose to do it after I colored for one main reason. I think if you stamp those images before, so let's say I stamped the strawberry and then stamped the seeds, when you color over them, because it's really hard to color around all those little teeny tiny dots, when you color over them, I think it really mutes them, kind of distorts them a little bit and makes them not so vibrant. And I really want them to be vibrant, so I save any of that embellishment stamping until last. The pear is probably my favorite, ended up being my favorite of all of the fruit. I really wanted to get more of a realistic look, and I did have to work a little bit. My initial idea was, lay down my two green colors. I've kind of got a limey green, a darker green, a little brown, a little orange. I wanted it to look as realistic as possible, and then blend it out. But the colors were so different, they don't really blend the way I thought they were going to. So instead of giving up on it, I really just kind of worked and worked. I pulled in more brown, I pulled in more orange, I colored some of the green over the orange areas. I pulled that darker green especially out a little bit more. And I would just blend after I added each, different layer, and really, really worked on it. Here's where I really pulled that brown out a little bit more, and it ended up being the perfect thing to do. It's really starting to maybe come a little bit more to life and not look like I just laid down 4 completely random colors. So I really scribbled that brown a little bit further out over some of that green area, over some of the orange, go back in with my darker green, kind of scribble that over, blend, blend, blend. I did go back around with some more and just kind of blend that all out until I get it exactly the way I want it to look. And then I did color in the stem with my brown marker. I just forgot to add that into the video portion, but I was really happy with how the pear turned out. For the lemon, I used just 2 shades. This could also totally be a lime if you wanted to go with greens. I really wanted an addition of a different color. I've got red, orange, green, more red with the strawberries. So I chose to make it a lemon, and I just used 2 shades, basically darker along the bottom, lighter up at the top, and then I really blended that lighter area out completely to the top of that. I went back in with my darkest color, added a little bit more of that in, just blending and blending, again using that same accent from the orange on the lemon, and then I am going to run this through my Sizzix Big Shot using the coordinating fresh fruits dies. I'm going to take one of the greetings now. This says hello friend, and I'm going to stamp that on the apple. I've already laid them out in a row. I kind of knew the placement, that way I knew where I wanted to stamp my greeting. And then I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and using one of the fine trimmings dies. This is one that has the stitching detail straight across. I just like the finished edge it gives to a strip like this. I'm going to use that on both sides of a 2" by 5.5" strip. So it's the width of a standard size card and then 2 inches tall. And I've got that great stitching detail on both sides. So there you can see it a little bit better with the stitching detail. I'm simply going to attach all of my fruit along that bottom edge now, kind of along that stitching line. Tuck some of them underneath, some on top, just to get a nice mix. I like the little lineup of fruit here. In fact, I think maybe that lemon needs to be tipped a little bit more so more of it can be visible. I started at the left side and then I moved over to the right, and I purposely hung the orange off of the right side just barely and the strawberry off of the left, again, just barely. That way I can trim that up, but I think it grounds the whole scene just a little bit more. So I am moving these around just a little bit. I really didn't use the right adhesive for that, but I'm trying to be really, really careful. I don't want to tear anything. And I'll tuck my last strawberry in here along the right side, trying to find the right angle to place my strawberry. I really had to work at that. You would think that wouldn't be quite that hard. On a white card base now, I wanted to do something. I could totally just attach that whole panel, or strip rather, to a card base, but I thought it would be fun to take the Words Defined stamp set, also new for August 2016, and pulling from the same colors that I used for the fruit, I'm going to ink up the Hello Defined stamp repeatedly and at an angle, because if you've ever watched any of my videos like this before, it's a lot easier to kind of cheat that they're straight in a line than maybe going straight up and down or straight across. When you go at a diagonal angle, it's a lot harder to tell if you're not perfectly lined up. And then I simply picked Mama Elephant pigment inks in red, orange, yellow, and 2 shades of green, and I'm creating strips of text for the background of my card. This is one of my favorite ways to create a custom background. I think it adds so much fun texture and interest to the card. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it or not. This was kind of like a last minute game time decision, but I thought it would add some interest, it would add color, and that's really what I was going for. I didn't really want to put a white backed strip on a white card for whatever reason. I just really felt like I needed something in the background. And my only concern was that the ink was going to maybe be too bright. I even considered doing 2nd generation stamping, and I'd stamped that on some scrap paper. Really didn't like it, and so I went ahead and just stamped it full on. And what I'm going to end up doing is one of my favorite cheater tricks. When you have a background that you love and you totally want to use, whether it be a stamped background or a pattern paper background, and it's too bright like it is here, I think it's a little too overpowering, but I like the style. I like to take a piece of vellum, lay it over, it mutes it just enough, and you can totally, the fruit strip is the star of the show again. I die cut this vellum rectangle using a Pica frame die from Mama Elephant. Placed it right there on top of my card base, hid the adhesive under where I'm going to be adding my strip, and I'm going to adhere my strip with foam adhesive. That little bit of dimension will also help pop it off of that background and help it really stand out. So I'll peel off my backing paper, place my strip in place, and my Fresh Fruits card colored with colored pencils is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this card showcasing the new Mama Elephant Fresh Fruits stamp set and the Words Defined stamp set. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more Mama Elephant videos you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.